Okay, today we're going to talk about how to accurately measure with a ruler. In order to understand how to measure accurately with a ruler, you have to first understand how the ruler works. So we are going to work with the metric system. So primarily we're going to work with centimeters and millimeters. It's important to know that 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. These smaller dashes on the ruler are representing millimeter marks. The longer dashes are representing centimeter marks. So this ruler can actually measure both centimeters and millimeters. Okay, so let's start with talking the patterns of this. Notice that you'll have your very long lines to represent whole numbers. You got 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You got these half lines in between, which represent halfway between the two whole numbers. So this one is 0.5, this one is 1.5, this one is 2.5, and this one is 3.5. Then you have these smaller marks up here. These all represent 1 milliliter or 0.1 centimeters. So this one would be 0.1 if we're talking about centimeters, or 1 if we're talking about millimeters. This would be 0.2 if we're talking about centimeters, or 2 if you're talking about milliliters. This one's 0.3 for centimeters, or 3 for millimeters. This one's 0.4 for centimeters, or 4 for millimeters. So you will have 4 small dashes and then a half line and then another 4 dashes. Now they all equal up to 10 because 10 milliliters equals 1 centimeter. So let's count and make sure this is true. You start here because we're not going to start at 0. You're going to start at this first mark. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. You see how that works? So when something falls right on one of these smaller lines, you have to know how many lines it's in to tell me how many centimeters or millimeters it is. If it's on the third line, it's going to be 0.3. If it's on the fourth line, it's going to be 0.4. If it's on the halfway, it'll be 0.5. After the halfway, you got 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. Notice this repeats over and over again. You always have your 10 in between each set of whole numbers. Okay? All right, let's talk about how to measure things. You don't start whatever you're measuring at the very edge of the ruler. That's a no-no. You have to start where the 0 is. Now, every ruler or measuring tape's a little bit different, but you have to start where the first line is where it says 0. So this second one is where you would like to start. Notice it's going to give you the wrong answer here because you got a good chunk of it of ruler that it's not supposed to be on. You need to start it at the 0 mark. Okay? Let's do some practices. So you got this black bar here, and I need you to tell me how many centimeters and how many millimeters it is. So let's first start with centimeters. You got these big numbers, right? It's past the 3, it's past the 4. Is it past the 5? Nope. So it's got to be less than 5. It's in between the 4 and the 5 at the half mark. So this one would be 4.5 centimeters. Now, if you were going to do millimeters, you could count these small lines, which we know are 10, 20, 30, 40, and then 5. So it would be 45 millimeters. You can also multiply however many centimeters you have by 10 to get the millimeters, or you can count the small lines. It's important to know that 10 millimeters are equal to 1 centimeter. Let's try another one. All right, for this one, I would like you to try to think about how many centimeters it is. All right, so we know it's past the 3, so it's got to be greater than 3 centimeters. Now let's see how many lines after the 3 it is. So 3.1, 3.2 is where it lands. So how many centimeters is it? 3.2 centimeters. Now let's think about millimeters. You can take 3.2 and times it by 10, or you can count the small lines in between. You got 10, 20, 30, 31, 32. So it should be 32 millimeters. All right, let's try another one. Again, you go ahead and try to get the centimeters first, and then I will check your answer. Okay, this one is before the 1, so it's less than 1. Here's your half mark. It's less than half. So let's see how many lines it goes in. This is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So it's going to be 0.3 centimeters. You always want to put a 0 in front of it, 0.3 centimeters. To figure out how many millimeters it is, you count the lines. 1, 2, 3. Or you can multiply it by 10. So it would be 3 millimeters. Very good. Let's try another one. All right, you decide how many centimeters is this black line. You know it's going to be greater than 2 because it's past the 2 mark, but it's going to be less than 3. Here's your halfway point, so it would be 2.5 here. It's beyond that. So you have 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 is where it's hitting. So your answer is 2.8 centimeters. Just a friendly reminder to always label. Now, for millimeters, you can count the lines or you can multiply by 10. So this is 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 millimeters would be your answer. All right, let's try again. You tell me how many centimeters this is, and then how many millimeters this is. This one should be an easy one. This one's an easy one because it falls right at the 4. So that means it is 4 centimeters. If you multiply it by 10, you will get your millimeters, or again, you can count the small lines. So 10, 20, 30, 40. You have 40 millimeters. Very good. All right, let's do this one. Tell me how many centimeters and how many millimeters the black line is. It's past the 2, so you got 2.1, 2.2. So it would be 2.2 centimeters. Figuring out millimeters, you can count the lines or multiply by 10. So 10, 20, 21, 22. 22 millimeters. All right, let's try this one. Tell me how many centimeters and how many millimeters the black line is. All right, it's less than 1, but greater than 0.5. So we'll start at 0.5 and we go to 0.6, 0.7. So it should be 0.7 centimeters. Multiply that by 10 or count the small lines to figure out how many millimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it should be 7 millimeters. Very good. All right, this is the end of the video. You're now going to work on some practice on your own with practicing how to measure accurately in centimeters and millimeters. Good luck.